We're about to begin Parshas Bereishis. So Rashi has a fascinating comment about the very first Shabbos, the Shabbos of Ma'aseh Bereishis. Rashi tells us that it would almost appear from the Torah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did Malacha, finished up the Sheshis Bereishis, almost literally into Shabbos itself. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu completed the very last final touches of Ma'aseh Bereishis as Shabbos was beginning. And Rashi tells us that's something that in the world of halacha would not be acceptable for us. For us as human beings, we have a mitzvah of Tosefes Shabbos. We're not allowed to wait till the buzzer. We shouldn't be coming running out of the shower 30 seconds before Shkia. We have a mitzvah of Tosefes. We're supposed to begin Shabbos a little bit earlier. So why is it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, is able to finish Malacha right at the last moment that we are not allowed to? Says Rashi, very simple. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows exactly the precise moment of when the new day begins. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Yodei Ita V'Ragov. He knows to the millisecond as to when Shabbos literally starts, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, Kaviyachal has the right to do Malacha until the last moment. We, as Basav Adam, we as human beings, we may make a mistake and end up inadvertently doing Malacha on Shabbos, and therefore we have to be Mosif B'chol HaKodesh. So Rashi's presentation, the name of the Medrash, about what the nature of the mitzvah of Tosefes Shabbos is all about, almost puts Tosefes Shabbos in almost a little bit of a negative sense, namely that there's no real intrinsic reason to start Shabbos early. It's just to be careful, extra caution, lest one makes a terrible mistake and does Malacha into Shabbos proper. But you get the impression from this Medrash that almost the thrust of Tosefes Shabbos is not positive in nature. It's almost more of a sur merah rather than a seitov. Nevertheless, there are other sources, in Chazal, in Poskim, that seem to put a very, very different spin on Tosefes Shabbos. That Tosefes Shabbos, beginning Shabbos early, is a good thing, is a positive thing. Mitzvah lahosif b'chol HaKodesh. According to many, you can fulfill the mitzvah of Suda Shabbos at this time. According to many, Tosefes Yom Tov would enable you to fulfill the mitzvah of Simchas Yom Tov at this time. We recite Kiddush, even though Shabbos hasn't technically begun. When we begin Shabbos earlier. So that seems to give an entirely different image of what the mitzvah of Tosefes Shabbos is all about. Tosefes Shabbos is not simply a sur merah, but there's a certain dimension of asay tov. Perhaps the asay tov is, if Shabbos being such a beautiful, holy, wonderful thing, we almost can't get enough of it. We don't want to suffice with mere 24 hours. Let's start it early and end it late. That shows a great appreciation of the Kedusha Shabbos. So what is Tosefes Shabbos? Tosefes Shabbos is something which is just simply caution. Be careful not to goof, not to malacha at the wrong time. Or Tosefes Shabbos something which is an expression of our love for the mitzvah, for the Kedusha Shabbos. So I think that both aspects are correct, and they tell us a world not only about Shabbos, but a world about Avodas Hashem in general. We know that the two terms that describe Shabbos, Shoma v'Zochor, the Ramban tells us in Parshas Yisro, Shoma refers to all of the mitzvahs losa, say the prohibitions of Shabbos, and Zochor refers to all the mitzvahs asay of Shabbos, all the positive commandments, Kiddush, Suda, Lavos Neiros. Says the Ramban, Shomor, the Isurim, the prohibitions, emanate from the notion of Yiras Hashem, a fear of awe and trepidation. Shabbos is so Kodesh that dare we do something wrong, and we're pachat, so to speak. We take a step back from Shabbos. Zochor, because we are so in love with Shabbos. Zochor is an expression of mitzvah saseh. Mitzvah saseh emanates from Avas Hashem Yisbarach. When you love somebody, you want to spend time with them, you want to do things, you want to act in a positive way towards them. Shoma v'Zochor b'Derech Emor explains the Ramban, really encapsulates our entire Avodas Hashem. Avodas Hashem is made up of two parts. Avodas Hashem is made up of the sur merah, the staying away from that which HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to stay away from. It is that pachad, it is that mora, which make up mitzvahs lo saseh. And yet, at the same moment, is an expression of closeness, of love, of endearment, for the beautiful Torah mitzvahs that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has bestowed and blessed us with. The perfect Avodas Hashem combines together both of these seemingly contradictory feelings, which are in truth complementary to one another. We combine the Shamor, we combine the Zohar, we combine the Ava, we combine the Yira, the Dibrech and Nemru, and that's how we reach our Shleimus, our perfection, Avodas Hashem. And the very first mitzvah, the mitzvah of Tosefes Shabbos, the very first, in a sense, halachic concept of Shabbos that appears in this week's parsha, already sets the stage for both of these dimensions, both of these aspects of Shabbos. We begin Shabbos early for two reasons. Number one, because we understand and appreciate the severity of Chilul Shabbos. And therefore, we don't want to risk. We're not like a Kadosh Baruch Hu knows exactly to the split second when Shabbos begins. With all our Maizmanim and all our calendars and all our atomic clocks, we're still nervous. We're still a little bit frightened. We don't want to trample upon the Kedusha Shabbos, so we begin early. But that's not the only reason why we begin Shabbos early. We begin Shabbos early because we love Shabbos so much. We go out, L'chadodi, L'kras Ka'ala, we go out, Kabel, the Shabbos Kodesh. We recite our Kiddush. We're Mekabel Kiddush Sayom early as an expression of a great Ava for Shabbos, and of course, and by extension, the great Ava for Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us the mitzvah of Shabbos. So the very opening of Bereishis Bereishis sets the tone for the dual aspect of Avodas Hashem in our lives, balancing the Ava and the Yira, balancing the Surah Rav Aseitov. Hope HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us that prophecy after the Shmaya. As we begin together Shabbos Bereishis, we should set the tone for all the Shabbosos of the entire year. And as we begin anew, after the beautiful, wonderful recharging our batteries of Chodesh Tishrei, so now we begin anew in Avodas Hashem that is made up of these two most essential dimensions, most essential aspects, the Av and the Yira. Kadosh Baruch Hu give us the Shmaya to fulfill in the fullest sense Shalom v'Zochar v'Divrei Chanemru. Shabbos to everyone.